curious to have to share to ask many questions with you. Please take those questions and we can discuss further. I think without further ado, I would like to give the opportunity to Professor Ari Dharmastuti to share her perspective, institutional approach. Please, Professor Ari, have your time. Oh, okay. I would like to share information about CV, curriculum vitae of Professor Ari Dharmastuti. She is actually my fellow at my college at University of Lampung. Dr. Ari Dharmastuti is currently associate professor. She will be full professor, inshallah, this year in political science and chairpersons of international relations department, the Faculty of Social and Political Science, University of Lampung, Indonesia. Previously, she was chairperson of master's program in government science, Faculty of Social and Political Science of the same university, University of Lampung, between 1995 to 2001. She was the director of Women's Studies Center at University of Lampung. She received her bachelor degree government science in 1984 from Gajah Mada University in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Master degree in political science in 1994 from Iowa State University at Ames, Iowa, USA, and her doctorate in political science in 2010 from University of Indonesia. Her teaching responsibility and research interests are in the area of subject of political theories and problem of democracy, gender and politics, political science, research methodology, civil society, non-government organizations, political party election, local legislative, identity and culture, and local politicals and development. She has been expert team member of provincial government of Lampung from 2007 up to 2019 in the area of gender empowerment and child protection. Sumatra Regional Panels for International Fellowship Program by Ford Foundations. National Competitive Grants Reviewer by Ministry of Research and Higher Education of Indonesia. Director of PUSPA Lampung, an umbrella organization of 21 NGOs concentrating on the issue of women empowerment and child protection. An expert to the Lampung Province Women Political Caucus since 2009 until now. Her international paper presentation experience, including presentation in Bangkok, Thailand, for joint book publication in 1914, Beijing in China 2005, and then Asia UK International Seminar at Brighton, UK 2013, first CIS Indonesian in 2011, National Minority Migration and Security in Reunion Island, Croatia, May 2019, International Conference in Social Political Sciences, State Islamic University, Jakarta in 2019. I think that's the background curriculum vitae of Dr. Ari Dharmastuti. Dr. Ari Dharmastuti, please have your time to share. I think I have to limit your presentations like 15 minutes, so we can take questions from the audience, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. His Excellency, Judge d'Affaires of the Fiji Embassy in Jakarta, Mr. Isaac Gris, Rector of University of Lampung, Professor Dr. Karomani, IMARC's IMERS. I don't know. Is that the right one? But
yes.
it's IMERS Director, University of Indonesia, Mr. Nur Munir. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, please, I would like to convey my greatest gratitude to be invited to be one of keynote speaker in this honorable webinar covering the issue of the current COVID-19 pandemic. That we have listened a very interesting presentation by the Charge of Affairs of the PG Embassy in Jakarta. And I will tell a little story about how Indonesia, as a big country, it's actually the fourth biggest country in the world, I think now, considering the number of the population. We are the fourth biggest country in the world with more than 270 million people, and then 17,000 islands. How can we manage in one way or the other, countermeasuring the current pandemic that has swept through the whole world in less than 6 months? It must be a very interesting story how Indonesia can cope with this magnitude of problem by having a more or less working institutional arrangement. Okay, I will share my presentation with the title. Okay, so my presentation today is, I give a title of institutional arrangement for COVID-19 countermeasures in Indonesia, a constructivist institutionalism perspective. I have to say that this presentation is based on my previous rapid study. I would say it's rapid study that I already write a paper and presented and submitted into a journal publication here in Indonesia. So it's basically from a study that I do, especially with regard to learning about the institutional arrangement. What do we have in Indonesia that actually work? I will say that considering the threats of the pandemic, it is really amazing that we are really, I will say, in a quite good institutional framework for combating and countermeasuring the pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, I will start my presentation by giving an introduction. That as a country that lays on the area called as the Ring of Fires, Indonesia is called the Ring of Fires. Indonesia is prone to many disasters and the aftermath crisis, from small insignificant up to the mega magnitude tsunami back in 2006 that killed more than 10,100 people in Indonesia alone. We have also earthquakes, mountain explosions, and you name it, anything, floods, thunderstorm, tidal and landslide, everything. We have many that we can search in the website of the National Board of Disaster Countermeasure. And I noticed that in the research regarding disaster risk reduction, or called as DRR, it's many research about DRR, disaster risk reduction and management, they have been done. Yet little is known of how government, as the most important actor in disaster countermeasures, develop its institution based on unpredictable exogenous factors. I would say that any disaster is always unpredictable, especially, disaster is already unpredictable. So how can we create or construct institution based on unpredictable exogenous factors? It's very interesting study. So this study that I did, I conduct just recently, was aimed to analyze critically disaster and crisis countermeasures in Indonesia based on constructivist institutionalism perspective. So I use this, take this theoretical perspective as the foundation of the analytical tool for analyzing the institutional arrangement of pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, in the study of institution, there are many theoretical perspectives that we can choose or we can take from. I take some here in my study that I went through some theoretical perspective that if we study institution, then we can consider at least 5 theoretical perspectives. The first one is old or normative institutionalism, and the second one is historical institutionalism, and the third one is rational choice institutionalism, and then the fourth one is constructivist institutionalism and network on institutionalism. We can read in the book of Rhodes, Bander, and Rockman is a handbook of political institution, basically. So we can go through, we can go back to that book if you are interested to read of those institutional theories. In the old normative institutionalism studies innovates institution through an analysis of how value or values are manifested into rules and its respective structure. So it's basically how values, like Indonesia have values, like we have Pancasila, how Pancasila is then structured into state structures. This the old or normative institutionalism. Study institutions through analysis of how values are manifested into rules and in respective structure. And the second one, the historical institutionalism, studies institution through changes from time to time, adjusting to change in the environment. And the third one is rational choice institutionalism, studies institution through best means to achieve best results by taking into account the potentials of other responses. The fourth, constructivist institutionalism, it's called written by Colin Hay in the book that I already mentioned in the handbook, intends to capture, describe, and interrogate complex changes and disequilibrium. It focuses on post-formative changes, while historical institutionalism tends to analyze past changes. So if the historic institutionalism studies institution from the past changes, constructivists analyze institution based on analysis of future changes, post-formative changes. And the fifth one, the network institutionalism studies institution through network. It creates with other institutions to achieve its objective, to face challenges and to solve problems. So basically, we can, if we want to study about how Indonesia then set institutional arrangement, we can study from at least 5 points of view from these theories. So in this regard, I use constructivist institutionalism as the tool of analysis to learn about how Indonesia faced COVID-19 pandemic by constructing institutions from central level up to village level in this diverse country, huge country with more than 17,000. That the situation is vary from places to places. That very huge variation from mega cities like Jakarta and Surabaya and Bandung and remote areas such as in North Maluku and in Papua, etc. So I want to learn how Indonesia can establish or construct a arrangement to countermeasure or to combat or to countermeasures the pandemic situation. Ladies and gentlemen, here, why I use constructivist institutionalism, because this theory has a potential to tell us of how we are overcoming. This theory has a potential of overcoming the weakness of rational choice institutionalism. Usually, rational choice is more popular among a scholar of positivist institutionalists in the study of politics. But why I choose the constructivist? Because rational choice institutionalism, the logic is that changes are always predictable according to rational choice institutionalism. That changes are predictable. That is why it can be predicted. Causes and responses, causes and results, causes then causes and the results are predictable in one way or the other. But we know that disasters, the nature of disaster are mostly unpredictable. While the constructivists argue that structural change are mostly unpredictable, just like coral reefs always grow differently from one to another due to unpredictable environment change. This argument makes constructivist institutionalism as the best theoretical perspective to study disaster and crisis institutional arrangements, since the nature of disaster is almost always unpredictable. That's in my opinion. Maybe we can discuss later whether my argument is well-grounded or not. Okay. Next, I will say how institutions are constructed for COVID-19 countermeasures in Indonesia. In the wake of COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia, which was stated as national disaster by the government of Indonesia, by President, of course, early March 2020, then President of the Republic of Indonesia signed a decree number 7 2020 on the establishment of task force for acceleration of COVID-19 countermeasures or TFAC, gugus tugas penanganan percepatan COVID-19 at national level. TFAC was established based on this decree number 7 2020. And then TFAC was aimed, there are 5 aims for this task force. First one is to improve national health system and performance. And the second one, to accelerate COVID-19 countermeasures through interministerial synergy, as well as synergy with provincial and local governments. And the third one, improve anticipation capacity to contain the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. The fourth one, to improve operational decision-making synergy. And the fifth one, to improve preparedness and responses for COVID-19 pandemic. And the Articles 11 of the decree, it is stipulated that similar task force are established in provincial and local levels all over Indonesia. So that is the basis of the construction of the similar institutional arrangement in the provincial and local level all over Indonesia. In the operation, the decree states that the TFAC may develop partnership or involve other ministries and offices, as well as private sectors and other stakeholders when necessary. The TFAC is funded fully by state budget, and in the provincial level and local levels, the respective TFACs are funded also fully by provincial or local budgets. It's clearly stated in the decree. So it is very strong foundation for the provincial and local governments to respond fastly to the spread of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. The decree also been used as the basis of diverting budget plans at national, provincial, and local levels from previous routine and development budget plans into COVID-19 countermeasures budget without common budget approval procedure through long process of budget proposal submissions, discussions between executive and legislative, and then acceptance or rejection of the budget. This is the long process of the common budget process. But under the decree, it is shortcutted by easing the process of budget approval by the legislative body. This decree states that the president, governors and regents or city mayors need only to notify legislative bodies in their respective levels about budget change. The legislative bodies were not in position to reject, even to debate the proposal. It merely in the position to accept unless there is a serious doubts about the potential frauds. In the practice, budget diversion came mostly from routine expenses such as staff traveling, meeting budget, training budget, which mostly were cancelled or delayed. So there is a reasonable way of budget change in this regard. Considering the magnitude of COVID-19 outbreak threat, similar task forces were established in the provincial and local levels that resemble the national structure, which mean the provincial and local task forces consist of related government offices, the military, the police, and other provincial and local stakeholders. And then fast-track budget diversions were also conducted at provincial and local levels. Okay. Then, according to the decree, the structure of the TFAC consists of two main substructures, namely steering committee and operational or managerial committee. The operational managerial committee has the duties to, first one, conduct daily operation of COVID-19 operational plan. The second one, coordinate and control COVID-19 countermeasures activities. The third one, conduct supervision of COVID-19 countermeasure activities. The fourth one, to deploy our resources to countermeasures COVID-19 outbreak. And then the fifth one, to report to the president for all of assigned duties. The operational managerial structure consists of a chair, which is chair of National Board for Disaster Countermeasures. Here is Mr. Doni, what is the name? Doni Monardo, Mr. Doni Monardo as the chair of the National Board for Disaster Countermeasure or BNPB. And then vice chairs consist of operational assistant to the Indonesian Army Commander and operational assistant to the Indonesian Police Commander. And members, representatives, consists of representative from Coordinator Ministry of Human Development and Culture, and from Health Ministry, from International Affairs Ministry, Foreign Affairs Ministry, Transportation Ministry, Communication and Information Ministry, Education and Culture Ministry, Religious Affairs Ministry, and National Board for Disaster Countermeasures, Indonesian Army, Indonesian Police, and Presidential Office Staff. So this is the members. These are the members of the National Board, the FAC at national level. Lower level task forces in the sub-district and village levels were established almost all over Indonesia following this degree, and then lower level task forces below provincial and local. We already also witnessed some areas in Indonesia, they developed a task force in the sub-district or kecamatan level, and then village levels, even neighborhood levels were established almost all over Indonesia since COVID-19 outbreak, which was formally acknowledged by the government of Indonesia on early March as a disaster. Early March, the first case, we remember, the first 3 cases was declared by the president early March, the case from Depok, and then in the mid-March, it was declared as a health disaster or bencana kesehatan, and then up to August, 31st August, yesterday, it has been infected, 30 August, has been infecting more than 174,790 people with death tolls at 7,417 by 31 August. Adaptations were made based on various conditions which may not be the same from one place to another. Areas with low or without COVID-19 cases may need only minor structure and small budget, but areas with high COVID-19 cases would need extensive structures and budgets. So like DKI Jakarta, and then like Jawa Timur, Sulawesi Selatan, Sumatra Selatan, North Sumatra, this definitely will need extensive structures and huge budgets, larger budgets than areas such as maybe Lampung, where we are here, and maybe also Papua. We need maybe not that extensive structures and maybe less budget. The latest COVID-19 pandemic disaster in Indonesia was the only disaster which need the establishment of task forces all over Indonesia at all level of government structures. This is the only one. We never have this kind of experience before. Even the latest tsunami in 2006, which killed more than 100 people in Sumatra, we didn't have that kind of structure. So there were some similarities for institutional arrangement to guarantee working institutional procedures and operations. However, there were also differences adapted to various conditions and situations. The institutional arrangement with regard to COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia were the portrait of construksi figurasi. It's because it's define the basic structure, but also it gives rooms for adaptations depend on variation in the area. So we see that like West Java, they have a very fast development of BS2, biosecurity 2 laboratory for COVID-19 testing, but we don't have it here in Lampung. It means that we have a very strong similar pattern of structure, but it is every area is given room for adaptation to their specific needs. As we know that Indonesia is very diverse, we know exactly. Okay, and my concluding remark. My studies show that although the institutional arrangements for disaster countermeasure in Indonesia is based on the same law, the implementation of institutional structuring as well as practices in countermeasuring disaster, especially the last COVID-19 pandemic, vary greatly. The mega crisis due to COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in the establishment of long-term national, provincial, local, lower level task forces all over Indonesia. This kind of institutional arrangements have never been made in Indonesia, nor even the 2006 mega tsunami, which hit some provinces and caused huge death tolls. More than 100,000 died of the tsunami. The task forces at all levels were given mandates to establish necessary structures, as well as to make budget diversion from regular conventional process into fast-track, more flexible one. I think that's all, Pak Ai. Thank you very much. Selamat sore.
Thank you very much, Bu Ari. Ladies and gentlemen, we have already here two presentations from Mr. Ambassador of Republic of Fiji, and then also from Dr. Ari Dharmastuti. I would like to open to questions for the audience. Please, I think I catch one questions from Pak Kafi, from Pak Kafi Nazaruddin. Yeah, it is directed to Mr. Ambassador. How the government of Fiji managed its higher education policy amid the COVID-19 pandemic? Is there any specific way that university or school to follow the academic activities? And then, yeah, I think that's, so far we have only one question from chat room. I think I would like to give opportunity to Mr. Ambassador to respond to the questions. Pak Ishak, silakan, please. Unmute.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that question. I think it is a very important question because it really speaks to the forward movement of our people, of our children, and given also the institution, the highly prestigious institution that we are engaged under right now, I think it is a very, very relevant and a very important question as well. The modality may be different because Fiji is a small archipelago of 333 islands, and also the population is not really that much, it's just around 1 million. And given that small size and the smallness, I think to a certain degree, it has been enabled by the Ministry of Education to put together an education program that is suitable as well to the population. But I might have to add that we have a history of being ruled under the colony of United Kingdom. They were the first ones to put the education system in place, and that is why Fiji's public first language of communication and official language of communication is in English as well. So I think it is an institutional question, and also it is a question that is directed to government policy. It can be researched as well by the institutions or the questioner to see ways of looking at the Fijian education system and where we can try and link up with either a district level or provincial level of education. But we can explore that opportunity as well. I think we can look at it under a possibility of having an MOU in education, and also we can work together in terms of trying to see what Fiji offers in terms of education, from primary, from secondary to university, and we can share our experiences as well with Indonesia. But having said that, I'd just like to say that we also have students who are coming in from Fiji to learn Bahasa, to come under the there's a scholarship that the Fijian students come over to engage with under the Indonesian scholarship program. There are scholarship programs as well in Fiji under the Australian government and the UK government and other governments that can be explored by Indonesian students who are interested as well to look at the education opportunities in the universities and institutions in Fiji. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to mention that Indonesia has a policy online study from home for, from elementary school up to university. Is that happen also in Fiji?
No, it's just at the university level because of the issue of connectivity and also access to internet. As we all know, that Fiji is a developing country. There are regions where there is still no electricity that has reached that level. There's also internet connection, mainly the outer islands, but the mainland and also the capital and the towns and regions around those main island, they have capacity. So it's only at the higher education level, at university level, where that policy was encouraged. But also given the low number of COVID-19 cases and the initial policy just to shut down the school, and then it has been reopened again. The school term has progressed again with the normal classroom settings, and of course, to some degree, some health protocols being followed as well. Thank you.
Angel Finanti. Angel has questions. I will read the questions. As we know, COVID-19 has hit tourism industry in every country, including Fiji. Then I read from some articles that Fiji government has been planning or even still discussing about the possibility to create travel bubble, or known as Bula bubble, with Australia and New Zealand. Do you mind to tell us what kind of proposal did Fiji government give to these two countries, and how far this agreement has gone so far? Because according to Mr. Isaac explained before, Australian and New Zealand are major market for Fiji tourism. Can you? Yes. Can you respond to that questions?
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. That's an excellent question. There's two approaches that was taken. One is the blue lane, and the other one is the Bula bubble. The Bula bubble is to do with accessing the New Zealand and Australian market through the Fiji Airways arrangement with the Qantas and also Air New Zealand. There was this tripartite arrangement that was put in place for these three countries, also using their airlines respectively in terms of trying to push forward the Bula bubble, which is a concept that has also been implemented by other countries. Because of the existing shutdown in Australia and also the reservation in terms of New Zealand's openness, and also the reservation given our policy in Fiji to open up our shores to foreigners coming in, it has been stalled for the moment. The concept, the idea is there. The concept and the idea has been agreed to some degree, of course, with very little nitty-gritty terms and agreements in terms of the health protocol and other issues that is part of the package. But for now, as we all know, Australia has shut down its borders again until the mid of 2021. We'll see if they improve in terms of how much they can control the internal outbreak of COVID-19 within Australia. I guess that has also given a pause to the arrangement. The blue lane, though, the blue lane is open. This is the blue lane refers to yachts coming in from America, from Japan, from UK. They are still, they have been open. And I think as of when it was implemented and probably 100 days later from its implementation, there was more than 50 mega yachts coming into Fiji. Of course, they were tested before they were permitted to berth on the famous yacht places in Fiji. So that was also being introduced by the government of Fiji to try and give some cushion to the impact of COVID-19 on tourism. So the blue lane was introduced specifically to open the shores to super yachts and yachts coming in from Americas, even from Australia as well, and New Zealand and other areas in Asia to come in and spend holidays in Fiji. Of course, I emphasize again, the health protocols were put in place to ensure that those who are tested positive would not be allowed to come straight in and interact with the people. But that particular blue lane has been a success. Again, it fluctuates, it goes up and down, depending on the country of origin and also the magnitude of the COVID-19 in those countries when they apply to come in to Fiji. Those health protocols, those checks and balances are still very much in place, and they are very strongly implemented by the officials in Fiji through the immigration department. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. We have one question for Dr. Ari, and from Dundezen. Yeah, Dundezen. What is the strength and weakness of government in response to COVID-19 based on your theory, Dr. Ari? Can you respond, Dr. Ari, please?
Thank you very much. Very good question. What is the strength and the weaknesses of the government response for this COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia? I would say that the strength, I would say that's like N in the structuring. But if we ask about how it works in the field, how it works in the practice, we come back to the common problem we always face: lack of human resources, lack of funding, and then lack of infrastructure. Because as we see, even if there is task force in Lampung, for instance, still, what is the substance that we, the PCR test? What is the name? It must be sent to Jakarta to be tested. We don't have the infrastructure here in Lampung and in other provinces. So it's very, very, very long, very long process. Even before somebody maybe already buried one week before, after 1 week after we know that, oh, he is positive or negative. So lack of infrastructure is very bad. And as we know that Indonesia is among the percentage of between the comparison between Bandar and the population to be served, Indonesia is not a good one. I don't know about Fiji, but definitely Indonesia is not a good one. If we compare, like one doctor must serve how many people? There is standard that one doctor must only serve some people, but Indonesia is not good in that regard. So we are lacking of human resources in the health sector, the first one. And also we are lacking our infrastructure. We don't have laboratoriums in the provinces, let alone in local levels. We don't have individual protection devices, APD, alat pelindung diri, self protection devices, alat pelindung diri, APD, self protection devices. We are lacking of that. We are lacking of everything. So lacking of infrastructure, lacking of human resources, as well as fund. So I would say that the establishment of the institution are there, but whether it will work or not depend on the area. If we compare Jakarta and Java, for instance, we see that actually Jakarta has much higher cases, but they have a much larger fund and human resources than East Java. That's why if we compare the pandemic in those two areas, the picture are different. I would say that Jakarta fare better than East Java because of those three factors: human resources, and then infrastructures, and also funding. Because Jakarta, as we know, they are rich. Yeah? Jakarta is the largest. It's a tiny place with only about 12 million people. It's 1/3 of East Java. But we know that Jakarta has more money than East Java. Yeah. That's why they are richer, and they can respond faster than other areas. So if the weaknesses is that the institutional arrangement doesn't guarantee that it will work in the field, considering these three other factors: human resources, infrastructures, and funding. It is critical aspect that we have to consider when we are facing the same pandemic, because every scientist in the world say it will not be the last pandemic that we will face. Maybe if we see that from the Spanish flu in the early 20th century, it needs around 100 years to get into this. Yeah, but only in this first 2 decades in 21st century, we already witnessed a lot of much more pandemic situation and outbreak of such kind of pandemic in the world. We what is the name? A lot of avian influenza, etc. And then SARS, MERS. This last pandemic definitely will not be the last one. So if we have to learn from our previous experience, that we have to note it is not arrangement alone is not enough. It must be combined with enough human resource, enough infrastructure and funding. I think that's what I note from my study, that those are critical factors that we have to consider for our future benefit. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ari. She is really explore her study in institutional approach in order to handle the COVID-19 impact. We have another questions from Pak Ridwan, Dr. Ridwan, and it is, I really expect these questions from Pak Ridwan. So how far effectiveness the circular zero waste and recycling use resource government policy? Is there any certain policy from government or regulation created by the government of Republic of Fiji? And then it is very related to the concept of blue economy that you already explore. You already explained very extensively in the presentations. Can you respond to that question?
Thank you so much for that question. It's a very relevant question. In late 2019, the Fijian government introduced the use of single plastic in supermarkets, and also started introducing an additional tax to those who would be using plastics rather than other forms of carry bags in supermarkets. For that, and also there was a policy introduced as well in terms of the use of plastic bottles for production and also for packaging. And there's significant efforts in terms of cleaning up in the responsibility given to the mayors or the administrators of towns and cities in Fiji, which is not too many, and also the engagement with institutions. I think it links well with Dr. Ari's argument about institutionalizing these efforts and bringing in the community to participate effectively with institutions in terms of the implementation of the policies, and also the rollout of the plans to ensure that the concepts of blue economy, waste management, circular economy is all being implemented. We can look at it from various different ways, but there has been significant policies as well and efforts as well in terms of trying to minimize the use of plastics, trying to control the use of bottled plastics because these are petroleum-based plastics. For mission, we have been in contact with Avani Eco from Bali. They also have their outlet here in Jakarta. We visited both the Bali factory and also the factory here in Jakarta. Avani Eco, the owner is Mr. Kevin Kumar. We have been in contact and we were planning to take him across because he was interested to go to Fiji to go and see and check out the possibility of establishing a factory, because what he has come up with is an alternative to plastic bags, which is also bags that are created or made from cassava starch. Fiji is big in planting of cassava. So that is an alternative, and it can be mixed in a bottle, container of water, and it melts. So it's biodegradable. We at the embassy, we are looking at that option as well, and those other opportunities that we can take back to Fiji, because it links up properly with the policies that have been in place in terms of promoting circular economy, the importance of waste management, and also which overall contributes to building back a greener and blue economy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Is there any questions? If you have any questions, please react on the bottom of the Zoom screen, or you can directly raise your hand. Everybody, do you have any questions? Bapak Ibu, please. Okay. While we're waiting for maybe somebody will have another questions, I would like to ask Mr. Ambassador, how about Fiji government handle the small business that losing the customer because of COVID? Is there same situation as you might know in Jakarta? Many business, small enterprise shut down because of the COVID, because of the limitations, people mobility. Is it the same case happen also in Fiji?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that question. On July 17th, a budget was announced, and the budget by the Fijian government was really announced in response to the COVID-19 impact, economic impact. So with that budget came a significant portion of resources being dedicated to those who are engaged in the small and medium enterprises and also in the creative economy sectors. With that comes the tax exemption as well, where some of these SMEs were not being taxed, and also just the other funding avenues that were being introduced by the Fijian government to ensure that they are being upheld. And that was in addition to the 1 billion Fijian dollar that was introduced by the Fijian government at the early stages of March to address the fallout, the economic fallout of not only SMEs, but some other businesses in general to help prop up the economy. Just as of, I think last week, there is another plan of a stimulus package that is again targeted to small, medium enterprises, because also the informal sector and sectors that are involving women is also an important area that the government is looking at to make sure that this sector is being supported effectively and efficiently, so that there is no significant fallout economically from the current COVID-19 lockdown and the shutdown that we are experiencing. Significant SMEs are also linked to tourism. That is also why there's a lot of effort by the Fijian government to also support some of the sectors that are being enabled through the tourism sector to be able to maintain this fallout from the economic impact of COVID-19. Still on tourism, there is a policy of support the locals with significant reduction in prices of hotels, where the locals are being encouraged to go into hotels and support the local the hotels, and also help prop up the tourism industry. So those are some of the nuances that has been introduced by the Fijian government to try and encourage internal reinvestment of resources to be able to prop up the economy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Good response. I think I would like to share to Bu Ari. If you want to see the chat room, there's comment from Sari Indah Oktanti. How you, if you probably the curiosity from Sari Indah, is there any possibility that we can apply or implement the concept of PG in waste management, which is blue economy, zero waste, zero emissions? Can you respond to that in terms of policy that we can, the government might to make the policy for that?
Okay. Thank you, Pak Yi. My response is simple. We have to be optimistic. Otherwise, we have no reason to live now in this polluter in the world. But we have always to be a positivist and optimistic about the situation. Actually, there are some good practices here that we can see. I think there is one example of a company here that apply a zero waste policy, that all of the waste are used for greener, more efficient. Always are treated into something else, like the company of GGP China, right? They have used what you call the outer skin of pineapple for cattle feed. Okay, and then other also, they are like the waste from sugar company. They use it for producing electricity for their own needs. So it is possible actually to apply in Indonesia. Of course, considering the magnitude of the problem, of course we face much tougher challenge to apply the system that works in Fiji. Because if we see that Fiji, as Mr. Child Affairs, Mr. Ambassador said, only have around 1 million people. It's about the size of our city, Bandar Lampung, and it's also isolated in many islands. So maybe that works over there is will not apply here, because we have much more serious problems. Because if we see that the problem of waste in Jakarta will be different with the problem of waste in in North Sulawesi or in Lampung. So I would not say that we can imitate what happened in Fiji here, but basically we can at least make some pilot projects, and we can see some good practices that already work here in Indonesia. Because not all companies, big companies in Indonesia are bad one. There are some good examples that try to do what like the company, policy that works in Fiji that can work here as well. But of course, it is still not not in a systemic way. Not in a systemic way as maybe Fiji can apply nationwide over there. It's maybe impossible here in Indonesia, because we know the problem of waste in Java is different from the problem of waste in Sumatra, different from Papua, etc. So I think with the autonomy frame of work, it's possible for every province or every regencies, they can have their own initiative to try to make this what you call blue economy, greener economy works in their respective areas. So I think I'm quite optimistic, and that's what we tried. Why? Because in the new order era, what is applied in Jakarta must be applied also in Papua. It doesn't work that way. So that's why we fight for autonomy, because with the autonomy, it gives provinces and regencies to have their own initiative to try to solve their problems. Of course, again, the problem whether we have human resource, whether we have infrastructure, whether we have money will affect also whether we have also the consistency to have a good policy to work in the field. That's what my response for this question. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Ari. Very energetic response, and I think very good response. I would like to see chat room. We still have about 5 minutes or 4 minutes before we close the sessions. I'd like to see another questions from the chat room from Mira Suarto. Yeah, Mira Suarto. As COVID-19 has struck the globally Fiji, I'm interested to know Fiji educational approach, system, and policy during this COVID-19 pandemic, especially to rural area, as you mentioned, that have no any internet connection and even electricity. Can you share how you handle these situations, Pak Isa?
Thank you. Thank you so much for the question. As rightfully said, when the COVID-19 struck and when we started implementing the restrictions on the COVID-19, there was significant focus on the different sectors and also the need to make sure that that the pandemic was not spreading significantly in Fiji. So from March 19th, when the schools were announced to be closed, it was really to do with the safeguard of the students and the children and also the teachers. So the approach that was taken, addressing the approach that was taken was really to do with the protection of the human resources and also the protection of the students in that concept, in that aspect. The unknown element, because a lot of people, it was still at the early stages. Even the World Health Organization was not really aware of some of the characteristics of COVID-19. A lot of scientists were still trying to understand what it was made up of, which is why it is called novel, which means that it's a new COVID-19. The decision was really in response to the unawareness or the lack of information as well in terms of how this COVID-19 can affect a nation or affect our communities. Fiji is a very small country, and also the public health system would be under a lot of pressure if there was a significant outbreak. So to avoid the outbreak, the initial decision was really based on the political will to make sure that the citizens were protected. Now, at that comes the expense of education, the expense of economy, the expense of economic activity and revenue generation, and also tourism. But that was really the approach at that particular point in time, which is in March. And it was really to do with the protection of our borders, the protection of our people, and also because of the unknown element or characteristic of what COVID-19 was capable of. But with that, comes the continuous monitoring that was in place to see if it was safe again to reopen the schools, which happened a few weeks back, probably 2-3 weeks back, when the schools were opened again, so that learning and teaching and students can go back to school and start the education plan. So it was not really too long, as in the shutdown, and also it was really based on necessity in terms of what I've just explained. But otherwise, the school holidays in the future terms would be reduced just to cover up for the time that was lost during the shutdown. That is the policy shift and the policy change to address the education aspect of the impact of COVID-19. So moving forward, the 2 weeks and probably the 8 weeks holidays that is normally given after the school term, so that the lost time can be covered from the shutdown period that was initially announced by the government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have two persons raise their hands, Rizky Rahman and Aldo Sukma. I'd like to let Rizky Rahman to ask directly questions, please. To the point, please. Unmute. Rizky or Aldo. Can you unmute? I'm already unmute Aldo. If you want to. Huh? Okay. I think they don't hear me. I think we have already come to conclusions of this webinar. It is very interesting that we heard from PG government representative represented by Mr. Ambassador, Excellency Isaac Grace, sharing the concept of blue economy and how to handle the COVID-19. Since right now, I think everybody will watch, will take on Fiji development. So I think Indonesia will support PG for the development from now until future, even though Indonesia is still developed. I think I would like to let Mr. Isaac Grace to have concluding remark. Also, Dr. Ari, please share your concluding remark. I think I start from Dr. Ari. Can you share your concluding remarks, 1 minute, and then after that, Mr. Ambassador, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Pai. It's very interesting webinar. It's very productive one. I know that the participants are still there following us. It's a great opportunity to share ideas. I do hope that this pandemic will end soon, and all of the vaccine and also the cure for the affected one will be available soon and will be distributed evenly, because even when the vaccine is available, it doesn't mean that all the countries, maybe also Fiji and Indonesia, will have the same opportunity for the affected one to have the vaccine. We have to learn from this pandemic that we need to establish a stronger institutional basis in the future, because as all of the experts say, it will not be the end. It will not be last pandemic that happened, considering the destruction of the environment that Fiji have started with their blue economy and then greener one. It's very good step, because we know that it is the pandemic started from the interaction between nature and human being, reckless human being behavior, and that's finally destroy the environment that create the threat to the whole world, considering the speed of the human traveling in the world now. It's a borderless world, and what happened in Fiji will affect all over the world in less than half a year. So I think it is the fastest conqueror of the world is the unseen creature, tiny creature that now make us bend to our knees everywhere. So let us learn about this bitter story that make us well prepared for the future. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for sharing the story from Fiji. Hopefully, I can visit Fiji in the future. Maybe for a seminar there, His Excellency. Yes. I would really grateful if I'm invited to visit to Fiji, maybe in the future.
You should come.
Very much, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ari. Terima kasih.
Thank you. Terima kasih, Dr. Ari. I would like to let Mr. Ambassador to give concluding remarks. 1 minute, please.
Thank you so much. I really thank the organizers. I really thank everyone that has participated. I really thank the opportunity that has been given. Fiji is still learning. We are here to learn as well from Indonesia. Indonesia is a massive country, and there's so many things that Indonesia can teach us as well in terms of recovery, in terms of our efforts to work together. And there are opportunities to collaborate between the two countries. We have seen how healthy and how strong our relationships are. It can be extended into the health and other sectors. COVID-19, we hope that it will end soon. I really admire and respect the fact that Indonesia has capacity to develop a possibility in terms of a vaccine. I understand that Biofarm, whom we had a meeting a few weeks back, is working with Chinese pharmaceutical as well to try and develop a vaccine. And I think they are going into the third phase of testing. So we look forward to those kind of developments as well. As a small island archipelago, we look to our big friends and neighbors like the Republic of Indonesia to also learn from the Republic of Indonesia on how to deal with these challenges, because the challenges are equal. We are archipelagos and the challenges are same. We have climate change, we have natural disasters, as explained by Dr. Ari, and there are similarities in terms of our collaboration and areas of working together. Again, I wish everyone good health and safety, to your families, to the whole institution, to everyone that is listening. I wish you well and good luck. And terima kasih banyak from the Fiji Embassy in Jakarta. Thank you.
Terima kasih. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Before we, I let Master of Ceremony to handle the forum before closing remark from Pak Nur Munir. I would like to extend, on behalf of UNILA, I would like to extend our gratitude. Thank you very much for IMERS, Islamic Middle Eastern Research Center, and then DIPLO. Thank you very much to ITB Ahmad Dahlan, and then to Universitas Syekh Kuala, and then Universitas Andalas, and then UIN Araniri. Thank you very much for collaborations of this very good seminar. And then on behalf of UNILA International Office, Mr. Ambassador, this is special message from Pak Rector for Mr. Ambassadors. We would like to inform you that we open the opportunity to give the scholarship from UNILA, for PG student to join Universitas Lampung as a student. We will give the Bahasa Indonesia class, and then also the student from Fiji can also join the international class in Universitas Lampung. We provide a scholarship for them. Probably you can send 1 or 2 students here, and then we provide residence facility, dormitory, and then also monthly stipend, and then free of charge of tuitions. I think this is very, I don't know, it is, I'm sure this is very good offer for exclusively Fiji students.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we are looking forward to see the student from Fiji to join UNILA. I think that's it for today. I'm as moderator. I would like to apologize. Maybe there's some mistake what I have said. And then thank you very much. We are very, very proud. So many people join this webinar, and then hope we can also arrange, especially Pak Abu Ali. Thank you very much. Abu Ali is a very good guy. Pak Munir, thank you very much. We would like to hear from you the closing remarks. I would like to let MC ya, let MC Mbak Ais masih ya dalam to take over the webinar. Thank you very much from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for Dr. Ayi Ahadiat MBA as our today's very interactive discussion with His Excellency Mr. Isaac Grace as Church the Affairs of Fiji Embassy in Jakarta, and Dr. Ari Darmastuti as Head of a Department of International Relations, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, we are now in our almost final agenda. Let's welcome Dr. Nur Munir, MAGS, MTS from IMERC Universitas Indonesia for delivering closing remarks. So, Dr. Andes Nur Munir, time is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Is my voice heard,
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Professor Dr. Karomani, MSc, Rector of the University of Lampung. His Excellency Mr. Isaac Grace, Judge the Affairs of the Embassy of the Republic of Fiji Islands in Jakarta. Thank you very much for your share. Thank you also to Dr. Ayi Ahadiat, Director of International Affairs of the University of Lampung, for taking the lead in this afternoon's discussions, a wonderful ones. Dr. Ari Darmastuti, thank you very much for your shares of your knowledge. Chairpersons of the Department of International Relations, Faculty of Social and Political Science, University of Lampung. I would like to mention also thankful to Mr. Nasir, Director of Daiblo Foundations, Mbak Nur Aisyah Maulidia, General Secretary of Daiblo. I see here also there is a Professor Rusmin Tumangkor, Abu Ali, Bapak Dundezen, Dr. Masud M. Nur. Thank you also for the question of Dr. Insinyur Ridwan, Mbak Angel Finanti, Mirna Soeharto, Pak Teguh, Inka, Nur Aini, and many others. The audience consists of 151, and now it's 147. Thanks also Andalas University, representative here. There is from State Islamic University of Araniri, University of Lampung, University of Syahkuala, Institut Teknologi Bisnis dan Bisnis Ahmad Dahlan ITB AD. Bapak Isaac Grace telah menyampaikan a wonderful shares of the knowledge. And the title of Fiji's way to combat the economic impact of COVID-19 that we can learn. And also the share from Dr. Ari Darmastuti. Thank you very much for your share titled Institutional Arrangements for COVID-19 Countermeasures in Indonesia, Constructive Institutionalism Perspective. Wonderful ones and very much knowledgeable that you share your knowledge. Fiji, the Republic of Fiji Islands. This is a full independent country from British on the 1917, and soon become the members of Persemakmuran. Small country, 1.26 million kilometer only compared to Indonesia. Thank you very much. That is the Fiji Islands. The penduduk or the population is so small, as according to His Excellency today, that informs us as number of 884,087, as according to 2007 information, compared to 270 million of Indonesian populations. So it is a small country, but it's our neighborhood country. Fiji missions in Jakarta is also accredited to High Commissioner to Singapore, so accredited to Indonesia and Singapore, and also to ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian nations. So diplomatically, as according to the records between Indonesia and the Republic of Fiji, was set since 1974, and Indonesia said it is a representative office in Fiji in 2002, earlier than Fiji's establishment of its representative in Jakarta, that is 2011. And the current ambassador of Indonesia in Fiji is Bapak Raden Muhammad Benyamin Scott Karnadi. This is in order to follow the Vienna Conventions on Diplomatic Relations 1961, as according to its preambles, paragraph 2, that is the purpose of and principles of Charter of the United Nations concerning the sovereign equality of states, the maintenance of international peace and security, and the promotions of friendly relations among nations, EA, Indonesia, and Fiji, that we discussed today. According to the paragraph 3 of the Vienna Conventions of Diplomatic Relations between countries, that is believing that an international conventions on diplomatic intercourse, privileges, and immunities both contributes to the development of friendly relations among nations, EA, between Indonesia and Fiji, irrespective of their different constitutional and social system. That is to uphold the Charter of the United Nations at the city of San Francisco on June 26, 1945. According to the Article 1 of the Charter, the purpose of the United Nations is to maintain international peace and security, and to that end, to take effective collective measures for the prevention and removal of threats and peace. So that is, I would like to underline the Charter of the United Nations that related to of our discussion today, that is share knowledge between what we have done, what Fiji has done to cover the COVID-19, to overcome economic challenges post COVID-19, and also as according to Indonesia that Ms. Ari has presented. principle of the charter that we would like to underline also is the organization is based on the principle of sovereign equality of all members. All members in order to ensure to all the rights and benefits, how to learn Fiji overcome the economic comebacks post COVID-19. And the resulting from those membership shall fulfill in good faith and the obligation assumed by them in accordance with the present charter. So as according to the Fiji missions, the visions of Embassy of the Republic of Fiji as according to its website, the vision is a vibrant and enduring relationships between governments and people of the countries of accreditations, that is Indonesia, Singapore, and associations of Southeast nations and Fiji. And the mission is to establish new and nurture existing relationships as the case may be to fulfill our visions. So the information that His Excellency Just the Affairs shared today is bilateral diplomatic relations consists of 3 aspects. That is bilateral cooperations, 1. Second is regional collaborations. The third, international support. Fiji, Indonesia supports each other at international forum. Regional and multilateral cooperations between that Fiji has expressed it, that is so far other than bilateral level relation between Indonesia and Fiji, also in multilateral level in the Asian and in non-aligned movement, AM. And non-aligned movement was, Indonesia was the one who established, who promotes the establishment of the non-aligned movement, and Fiji welcome to be member since 2011. In Asia, Fiji's affiliations to the group is being pursued at 2 levels. One is ambassadorial accreditations, and second is Fiji's observer status to the Asians. Welcome. So we are, between Indonesia and Fiji, has 2 levels of relations, that is bilateral and multilateral level. As Fiji's commitments to responding appropriately with sustainability in mind, Fiji's commitment to sustainable development goals, SDGs of 2015. There are 17 points of SDGs, and one of the 17 is climate actions. And as His Excellency shared today with us, there are 4 points of actions towards climate actions. That is point number 13 of the SDGs. Number 1 that His Excellency shared with us is green and equitable recovery, building back green and bluer. Number 2 is circular economy. Third, build back bluer. And fourth, feedback loop. So that is part of the actions that Fiji expresses toward the climate actions. As similar parallel to Indonesia is also in efforts to contribute in climate actions. Fiji, of the impact of climate change, innovative financings and programs, as His Excellency shared today. At the 4th level also, how to build resilience and responsive economy and society. That is 4 points that His Excellency shared with us today. First is financings. Second is data technology enhancements, mitigations, adaptation, and the 4th is challenge, how to challenge the climate change. So in concluding remark that I would like to underline from His Excellency today is there are 4 points. That is wholes of regions interventions, number 1. And number 2 is financing and debt construction. Number 3 is solution-oriented innovative approaches. Resilience and political will is number 4. So that is the commitments that states in the concluding remarks of His Excellency. Thank you very much. So in the level of multilateral cooperations, in the environment of ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, Indonesia was among the establisher. There are 5 of those. That is Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. Those 5 countries was the establishers of Associations of Southeast Asian Nations. And later, and currently, the ASEAN's member consists of 10 countries. That is Burma, Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Brunei, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. So Fiji's observers and ambassadorial to ASEAN, we are here among the 5 of establishers of these organizations. In terms of Fiji's memberships in non-aligned countries, since 2011, basically those organizations or those movements was established in Beograd 1961, but prior to that, there was Dasa Sila Bandung, the basis of the establishment of the NAM and AM non-aligned countries in Beograd, Yugoslavia, and to be held in Bandung, Konferensi Asia Afrika tahun 1955 yang menghasilkan Dasa Sila Bandung, the 10 principles, basic principles of NAM. That it menghormati